The Iran nuclear deal, one of the most charged issues of 2015 and the major point of contention in frigid U.S.-Israel relations. Perhaps 2016 will hold the answer to whether the accord was an historic accomplishment, as Washington contends, or an historic mistake, the general consensus in Jerusalem.
It took long years, long months, long hours for the 7 foreign ministers to walk onto the festive stage in Vienna, smiling from ear to ear, both relieved and anxious, confident and fearful. But they had one profound thing no one could take away from them. They made history. Despite many vocal opponents, internal reservations, mutual distrust, and numerous moments of despair, on July 14, 2015, one of the staunchest enemies of Western society became its friend, at least for the time being.
EU+3 and the Islamic Republic of Iran welcome this historic joint comprehensive plan of action and mark a fundamental shift in their approach to this issue.
By the end of 2015, the Islamic Republic had shipped away more than 25,000 pounds of nuclear material, meaning it no longer has enough low-enriched uranium to produce nuclear weapons, a key benchmark of the July Accord. But there are still some major points Iran has to address, such as the reconfiguration of its heavy water or rock reactor, the dismantling of 13,000 centrifuges, and a series of steps to increase international monitoring.
Trust is very much needed. And I believe trust can be built only through accumulation of facts.
Under the agreement, once the UN watchdog verifies that Tehran has taken all of these steps, the US and its allies will lift all nuclear-related economic sanctions, including oil embargoes and financial restrictions, estimated to release over $100 billion of frozen Iranian assets. But many still argue the West has made way too many concessions, and more than that, agreed on a weak monitoring mechanism. Iran has agreed to allow UN inspectors to enter its nuclear sites, including military ones, whenever inspectors have grounds to believe undeclared nuclear activities being carried out there. But, and that is a very important but, Tehran has the right to object to such an inspection, while a multinational commission can override its objections in a majority vote. But there is another very important but. Once the commission decides to pursue the inspection, Iran will have no less than 3 days to comply. The magical aura that surrounded the stage in Vienna a few months ago is definitely fading away, but no one said it would be easy to overturn decades of mistrust.
The difficult history between our nations cannot be ignored, but it is possible to change.
I'd like to say to the grand Iranian nation that God has accepted its prayers.
It is often much easier to choose the realpolitik state of mind and dismiss all faith in diplomacy. The Iranian deal has yet to prove itself, and there are many potential obstacles along the way. But something did happen in 2015. 7 world powers demonstrated that sometimes a mutual vision, a mutual dream, can win against all odds.
Yes, and with me right now here in the studio is Mayor Javed Anfar, Iranian politics expert. Good evening.
Thank you, Lucy. Good evening.
And Ali Ochenberg, diplomatic correspondent for the news today, who was there 20 days.
20 days.
20 days.
Yeah.
You were standing outside the hotel, waiting for someone to get out on the porch and say, "We got it." Why was it so difficult to get it?
Well, this deal was, of course, very, very complicated. All sides had their own wills, their own demands to this agreement, and to meet in the middle is probably the most difficult thing in the world, especially when all eyes all throughout the universe are carried out towards this specific hotel in Vienna, and indeed one extension after the other. But they finally made it, and maybe one of the most important things during the negotiations was what Federico Mogherini, who's top diplomat, said time and again: the diplomatic will exists. And this is what was the key factor in this negotiations at the end, the diplomatic will that the 7 world powers, the 6 world powers and Iran shared, and this is what made them reach this deal.
And we have a deal, and everybody argued about the deal. Is it a good deal? Is it a bad deal? But this was the best deal that the West could get now.
And I think the events that have happened afterwards goes to show how difficult it was to bring the two sides together. I mean, you know, the ink had hardly dried that Iran started imposing sanctions against American products. 227 American products, Iran imposed a ban against them. 2 ballistic missile tests. Straight after. Goes to show how difficult it was for the revolutionaries who were opposing this deal to accept and to swallow this deal that was going to improve the image of the United States. This was not an easy deal for Iran, especially for the hardliners. And I think the issue to watch out for in 2016 is not whether Iran is going to implement the deal. I think they will. It's what happens around it.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about what happened around it. Of course, Israel was in the middle all the time, inside the room of negotiations, outside, literally inside. But let's talk about the fact that everybody talked about the fact that the human rights violation and the intervention of Iran in the Middle East and the missile system, or the missiles, ballistic missiles, were not part of this deal. And now what we are seeing...
If they were, she would still be in Vienna.
And yes, of course, but we don't have enough budget to keep you there from September until now.
Please, tell the Iranians not to make such a huge chaos.
But really, if what we expect to see in 2016 maybe is another round of talks, and this time about maybe the ballistic missile system.
No, it's probably going to be around Syria. I don't think the Iranians are going to negotiate regarding the ballistic missile system. This is very much an issue that it seems that the Revolutionary Guard is saying, look, we paid already too much for this deal. You can't push us around. They're telling Rouhani, not just the West, you can't push us around now on the missile thing. And today, actually, Rouhani sided with the Revolutionary Guard. He said, no, I want to expand the missile program. It goes to show his room for maneuver is very, very small. But, you know, Iran wants to impose, the Revolutionary Guard want to expand the missile system, and America is going to impose sanctions against them. They know the game that they have to play. The issue here is domestic politics in Iran, which is what foreign policy is based on.
And in the U.S.
And in the U.S. Does the IRGC want to focus on domestic issues in Iran? No. And Rouhani is weaker than them, and this is going to be the biggest challenge for Rouhani, who is facing a $189 billion debt for his government. That's almost half, or at least 40% of Iran's total GDP. This is one of the most serious issues, and in Tehran is the place where that needs to be settled.
This deal, this renewal of relations is so delicate. We see it both within the Iranian society and in the U.S. Iranians are infuriated with the issue of visas that the U.S. now decided to restrict the access for those who hold dual citizenship, dual Iranian visa, and for those who visited Iran. So it's completely from the Iranian perspective, contradicts the agreement and the whole, new atmosphere in relations. And the Americans are infuriated with the missile issue. So nothing here is done. The Iranians are moving forward with implementing what the July Accord talked about, but the renewal of relations is still at a very, very delicate point, and there's no guarantees that it will indeed move in the right path.
Yeah, we'll just say, and we want to report on a massive fire near a hotel we are seeing in the tallest building in Dubai. These are live images coming from Dubai. Of course, we will continue updating about maybe the reasons of the fire, what is happening exactly there. These are the live pictures coming from Dubai. Initial reports, of course, we'll continue updating you.
Couldn't ask for a better metaphoric example to describe Iran-US relations after the deal. I'm sorry to say.
Going on fire?
Well,
although, if Barack Obama would hear you now, he will tell you no. Now you sound like Benjamin Netanyahu saying what he said.
I don't know what the IRGC thought they're going to get by testing ballistic missiles. I'm sure even Mr. Rouhani is amazed by this. So soon after this deal was signed, in Iran, they're trying to stabilize the economy. The Tehran Stock Exchange has been tanking. and the real has been losing its value against the dollar. Iran has got a lot of domestic issues, a lot of domestic priorities to focus on. Now was not the time to start going around poking America in the eye with this new ballistic missile test. They did it, and now the Republicans they retaliated with this, the visa issue.
Yeah.
And now there's going to be new sanctions. Look, this was an opportunity for Iran to take. They started this whole cycle, and now the Republicans are joining now. One is retaliating against the other.
Yeah, but when two hands are, let's say, dominating and controlling Iran, you don't have one hand that is leading this country. You have the Ayatollah from one hand and you have Rouhani from the other one, and they basically are not going on the same path or on the same road.
In 2015, Iran has still not decided whether it wants to be a normalized state or a revolution. Those who have power want Iran to remain a revolutionary state, whereas Mr. Rouhani wants Iran to become an actual republic, to normalize the country. The prognosis for 2016 for Mr. Rouhani doesn't look too promising.
Yes, Mayor Javed Anfar, thank you very much for this. Ellie, you're staying with me because we're going